So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Where am I going to? Where are we going to?
So it's
that's where we are. I have no idea where we are. I have no idea what I did there. There's been gremlins at the start of every single podcast for the last 2 weeks, and I have no idea what's happening here. There is definitely a ghost in my system. I've tested this about 4 times today, and it didn't work. But anyway, it's like as if I'm doing it on purpose. I'm convinced somebody's going to accuse me of doing this on purpose. But anyway, Frankie from All Villa No Filler is on the podcast today to help me to preview Aston Villa or West Ham versus Aston Villa in the opening day of the season. And it's mad, Frankie, because I've been on your podcast loads of times, and I realized during the week I've never had Frankie on my podcast, and that's very rude of me. So I needed to rectify that.
No, it's an honor to be asked on to not just one of the best Villa podcasts, but one of the best football podcasts I listen to be honest. And I've got Limerick family as well, so we've got to have that little bit of that connection as well. And next time I'm over in Limerick, we'll have to do something live when we're there.
Absolutely, that's a Limerick shirt up there anyway. So a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, that Ireland jersey behind you." No, that's a Limerick jersey, Limerick hurling jersey behind me there. And I can see someone's in the comments sunning himself out in Holly Bob's Paddy. So hopefully hopefully you're enjoying the sunshine out there, Paddy, and hopefully we'll all be enjoying the game at the weekend and of Aston Villa versus West Ham. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be one of the more difficult previews we'll do all year, because I couldn't tell you who's going to start for West Ham, and I certainly couldn't tell you who's going to start up top for Aston Villa. So this is a bit of a weird one today, Frankie. It's more so kind of sharing our excitement for the new season, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. The claret and blue derby, or the David Cameron derby. I don't know which one we call it. It's. So I actually have managed to get tickets quite late in the day to go to the game. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't massively love the West Ham Stadium. It's quite you sort of need binoculars to see everything. But it's a funny one. I mean, so many people are sort of putting West Ham as their dark horses this year to really get up into that top 6. And to be fair, they have hired an absolutely superb manager in Lopetegui. And he did a really superb job to keep Wolves up 2 years ago. He did a great job at Sevilla before then. He was unfortunate to be fired by Spain. They've got a top manager, and they've made a lot of very canny signings, and it does feel like their squad suddenly, if I went through it earlier and I looked at it, I thought they are strong. They are strong. It'd be, as well as having absolute quality that they already had in their last season in Kudus, Bowen, and Paqueta. So it's a tough day. Going to be a tough day on Saturday, I think.
Yeah, I'm. You mentioned Paqueta there, and whenever I hear his name recently, I'm like, that man should be banned. What he did, what he allegedly did. I suppose we have to say from legal points of view. There's no way he should be playing. But look, such is life, and he is playing, and he will most likely be playing against Villa at the weekend, and he's a damn good player, so I'd be delighted not to see him out there. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one, because Villa and West Ham have been two of the more active teams in the transfer market for different reasons. West Ham not needing to sell any players really as such to fulfill their PSR, whereas Villa having to sell Douglas Luiz. But both teams have spent big and have recruited in I suppose across the board for their teams. Really, Villa probably not being done just yet, but you wouldn't know what West Ham are going to do, because West Ham may come looking for John Duran yet. Who knows? But yeah, it's you have to admire the work that West Ham have done over the last 2 transfer windows. I think they've really retooled their team, and I, for one, think that they underachieved last year. They massively underachieved, I think, last year as well. A bit of a hangover after winning the Conference League that time, and I think that they are primed for another good season. But so are Aston Villa. Because I'm not as down on the fact that on the transfer business that we've done and where the team is. I don't think you need to ruin our team. I didn't think that you needed to insert an awful lot more into our team. Yes, there were areas that we did need to improve, but I did think that the squad needed fluffing up, and it absolutely was. So we'll see what the rest of the transfer window holds for Aston Villa, I think, going forward. But the big question, I suppose, on everyone's lips at the weekend, Frankie, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, is we're a one-horse team really up top with Ollie Watkins, and we haven't seen him this off-season. What's your view? Do you think that he's going to play? Do you think it's just wrapping him in cotton wool because of the fact that we're a one-horse team up top?
Yeah, I think he'll probably play. I'm not sure Duran gets the call up into the first team after the whole West Ham shenanigans, and it looks like Archer might be going on loan. And then if we were going to play a striker and Watkins didn't start, maybe Morgan Rogers. He's done it in pre-season. Did very well against Athletic Club there, actually. And I think I sort of have a theory in my head that he's the heir to Ollie Watkins and may his career end up as an actual out-and-out striker. But for now, that's not really his role just yet. And but I just think with Watkins, it's a case of, I guess for Emery, he knows what he's going to get from Watkins. Ollie's played a huge amount of football in the last year, all the way up into the Euro final. So his fitness really shouldn't be in question, even if he's had a few weeks away, wherever it is, Mykonos, wherever the footballers go, sunning it, loving it, and all that. But I think if he's fit and ready to go, I think you just have to start him. Really, wouldn't be massively surprised if he does go with Rodgers. But at the same time, I think if I had to put a bet on, I'd say Watkins does start, just because I think Emery knows what he's going to get from him, and Watkins he's not a new signing. He knows exactly what this Villa team is. So yeah, I think he'll probably start.
Yeah, I hope he does start, and I think he does too. I think 100% he actually starts, and I think that was the whole plan behind probably lightly running him so far. Yeah, it would be good. For me, it would be different if we had a new number 10 in there and we had maybe two new wingers or something like that. We'd retooled everything behind him, but we didn't. So the simpatico has been there with Bailey. Bailey's going to start on the right-hand side for me for 100%. You're going to probably have John McGinn behind him, and you're going to have Morgan Rogers, or else you're going to have Morgan Rogers behind him, Jacob Ramsey, and you're going to have McGinn and Onana in the middle of midfield. Because that, for me, is the other area I think that we're going to look to see. A lot of people are just assuming it's going to be Tielemans and Onana in there in the middle of midfield, and that's probably what it will be. I'm not, and here I go now throwing cats among the pigeons, but I'm not sure that that's the best partnership to have there. I think it's probably the easiest one to bed Onana into this team, but I think as the year goes on, it's not going to be Tielemans and Onana in there. I think McGinn does move back there. What's your view on that?
Yes. So obviously Onana and Tielemans have played together for Belgium. So there is that side to it. And I think that Tielemans is probably closer in profile to a Douglas Luiz type of midfielder than, say, McGinn is. But, I wonder if against West Ham he might select McGinn in the centre of midfield and Tielemans as a second striker potentially, or maybe left, wherever, just for that extra bit of combativeness, which I think away at West Ham you probably need. They're quite, they're a physical side in the sense of their big old players like Souček and Rodriguez, a new signing I think they've got. It's a funny one because I think Tielemans as a second striker really did excel in that role quite a bit last season. I think
so
with back to goal and as a link-up player, he's got the technique to pull it off. And I'm not always sure that's McGinn's strongest suit. And McGinn has had some fantastic games in centre midfield for us as well. I think there's a lot of question marks over Villa just at the moment where you think, where are certain players going to fit? How is it going to sort of flesh out this season? And I do wonder if the start of the season is going to be a bit of a transitional phase where we have a few patchy results just as Unai Emery himself starts to work a few things out. But I think there's so much quality in there that eventually it'll gel, it'll click, and we'll figure out where the best place is for everybody. Morgan Rogers is a second striker as well. He's been playing in the front two all pre-season. It just highlights how difficult it is to predict Villa, in the opening weekend and particularly in the opening weeks of the season. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out for sure.
Yeah, it's like we know Nana's going to be. I would imagine. Well, I'd be blown away with a feather if he doesn't start at the weekend. But he could be the only one of our new signings that starts.
I agree.
Or who do you think will be the other or any other signings that may be in with a shout to start?
Well, I mean, Ian Maatson seems like the signing we've made where alongside Onana, you'd say they come straight into the first team or they are a player who has improved the first 11. But I just wonder if, Luca Dean has started the last 2 games in pre-season, whether, again, West Ham away, it's just somewhere where we're probably going to be under the cosh a fair bit in that game. Luca Dean is just a somewhat solid fullback. He's well bedded in within that Villa team. And Onana, what he's going to bring in and provide is not just his defensive ability, but also just his what he can do going forward. And I wonder whether maybe he'll just go a little bit conservative and stick with Dean at left back just to sort of, deal with the oncoming storm at West Ham, that first 25 minutes when they're really up for it and excited and the adrenaline's pumping. And then maybe, second half at some point, bring on Maatson and just see what he can do. See what he can do going down that left, particularly if we're pushing for a goal and senses an opportunity in there. So there's probably the only other signing I think could potentially start. I mean, Barkley, I don't think. Philogene and Eiling Jr., Enzo Baranachea, I'd be doubtful.
I have one for you, Frankie. I think Ned has a decent chance. And the only reason I say that is there was a rumor doing the rounds on Twitter. I don't know how true it is that Matty Cash was ill at the weekend. Now I presume he's gotten over whatever illness it was. But maybe Ned starts in there if he's still coming back up to speed. I don't expect it to happen, but I think that's probably the only other area that we might see a new player start in there. And I think people are clamoring for Nedeljkovic to make that position his own. Like I've gotten a few pelters in the podcast before saying I'm not I don't mind Matty Cash. I like him. I've no ill will towards Matty Cash. I don't see the absolute 100% need to have him replaced. Yes, can he be better? Can he do better things in an attacking point of view? The thing that makes my cheeks go red with anger with him is that he doesn't drive into the box. Yes. Like Josh Norris said when he was here before, he cuts back an awful lot. Yes, that's all annoying, but I think he's very, very serviceable right back in the Premier League. And I think that Unai Emery will go with him and his experience in the Premier League over a youthful Nedeljkovic. But what an exciting signing. I think he's been, he for me has been the big, himself and Lamar Bogart have been the big winners, I think, of pre-season. Yes. Would you agree with that, or is there anyone else that stood out for you?
I absolutely agree. I took close attention to Nedeljkovic just at the start of this preseason because he's a player that I think we'd all kind of forgotten we signed, hadn't we? It was like we got him in January, then he went back on loan, then I think he was injured, so didn't play a lot for Red Star. But when I watched all the videos I could find of him, what I really, really noticed about him was his sort of physical prowess when he went forward. He loved to bomb forward and get into that final third, and his final delivery looked really good. He looked like a big physical player, tall profile, very quick and high impact tackler. There was just a lot of things you could see in the video. You thought, all right, I think I can see the raw ingredients here and why a scouting network that Monchi runs would see that there's some raw ingredients here and some great potential. Then seeing him in preseason, we actually saw that. We saw the way he can bomb forward and the way he's so he's absolute speed demon against Athletic. Bombing forward, getting into that final third. 2 occasions where he absolutely terrified the Athletic defence, getting into the box and linking up really nicely as well at times with Philogene out on the right. I didn't see so much with Bailey. And defensively looked very solid, very quick at getting back and defending. Daniel Marlin came on for Borussia Dortmund the other day. He was fresh, he was substituting. Nedeljkovic was keeping up with him. So there's a lot of signs there that, again, he played 90 minutes against Dortmund as well. So clearly Unai Emery's been impressed by him. He's sort of, I've got him down as my potential sort of young player of the season, in the sense of I think he's maybe, if he can continue the sort of form he's been showing in pre-season into the Premier League, if he's young, he could make mistakes and all that, but if he can continue that form, he could very quickly actually end up starting in the Premier League quite regularly. I don't know, he's just somebody that really excites me, definitely.
Yeah, there's a couple of people saying here in the chat that there's rumours we've medicals booked for Gertrude, and he looks like he's on his way. I have seen AFC Faithful post something there from somebody, a person I've never seen before, is saying that we've signed her through there. Let me just check to see who they are. Yeah, they have 23 and a half Eurosport journalist. That would be nice. Not going to be playing tomorrow, or not going to be playing on Saturday, but that would be nice. It'd be a nice little boon to have in. Spoiler alert: I did hear that we wanted him in ASAP. We heard through that, and if that is the case, that's fantastic. You know, I'm somebody that I'm really interested in. Moving on towards the West Ham side of things, you know, we talked about them tooling up over the last 2 seasons. They finally got another striker in. Another striker in that allows them to do what they do with likes of Bowen and Kudos and Paqueta behind there. Fulcook, where do you stand on Nicholas Fulcook? Because let's be honest, he's not had the most conventional career in football, I don't think.
He comes across as a West Ham striker. I don't think they've had great success with strikers in recent years, but he just seems like somebody, if you whip a ball into the box, his great big clunking head is there to head it in. A wonderful footballing story, you know, somebody who's sort of done it late in the day, got to represent his country, played in the Champions League final and all that. He's a bit older, into his 30s. I sort of wonder how that'll work out PSR-wise, just because Aston Villa, we're having to sort of deal with that ourselves right now. And I sort of wonder how sort of a mobile a player he is. But I guess, in a way, he doesn't need to be that mobile, because if he's got the likes of Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, Crescencio Somerville as well, like players like that around him, just putting balls into him, then he's probably just going to be a very effective player. And, you know, if you look back at Julian Lopetegui teams at Sevilla and at Wolves, most of the chance creation, or a lot of the chance creation they made, was from crosses. He's a crossing manager, and Fulkrug, he's the type of player who puts away those crosses. So, yeah, I think he's a player who looks like he just looks like he's got the natural physical profile to be a Premier League striker. And I imagine he'll get a fair few goals for West Ham this season.
Yeah, me too. I think he's been a very good pickup for them. Like a lot of people get caught up in he has no resale value and stuff like that. Like, genuinely, feck that, you know, for somebody who's going to be like, this guy would hit a brick wall for you and move it a couple of yards. He's that type of player. He's a big hulking, strapping man, and he's going to do damage in the Premier League. You know, old style centre forward, Paul Rideout type, not going to take any nonsense from anyone. And
that's a great reference. I love that, Paul Rideout.
and worry about it afterwards. So I'm worried about him, considering our lack of ability, lest we say, in the air at the centre half position, specifically without having Tyrone Mings in there, not having brought in any centre half help. Diego Carlos won't be around, albeit he is one of the poorer centre halves we have in the air as well. I think there'll be an awful lot of work for maybe Amadou Onana to do to get back specifically from corners, and I think he will be tasked there, because we do have our own Hulk and Onana in that position. But then again, they've got Thomas Suchek. They've got Guido Rodriguez, who's somebody else they've brought in, an absolute massive favourite of mine. And he signed for the wrong team in Claret and Blue, Guido Rodriguez. They've signed Crescencio Somerville. They've signed Guilherme. They've signed, Jesus, I've forgotten who else they've signed even over the course of the off season. Who was that?
Wan-Bissaka as well.
Oh, Wan-Bissaka, yes, yeah. They've done some really, really good business, and they're going to be forced to be reckoned with. They've even in midfield, they've even got like Edson Alvarez in there as well. They signed Todibo from Nice also as well. They've done just absolute brilliant work. They're back. Their centre halves are exactly what we want. To have the likes of Todibo, to have the likes of Mavropanos, to have the likes of I'm looking here, Agard, to have the likes of Max Kilman. None of those guys are going to be backing out of any challenges in the air, you know. So they're 4 absolutely brilliant centre halves, you know. So the rotation at the centre half position is really good. You look then at the wings and at their wingers and their strikers, and they're putting together a really, really nice team there. And Villa are going to have to be on top of their game. Absolutely, we're going to have to be on top of the game for this one at the weekend, specifically as well. I'd give us way more of a chance if we were at home. But like we come away from East London with a 1-1 draw at the weekend, and I'm I'm skipping down the street for a pint.
Exactly the same. Yeah. I'll be skipping over to Hackney Wick nearby for a quick pint, I think. It's going to be a tough old game, I think. But one thing I would note as well in pre-season, they've been trying to play the ball out from the back, which is not what West Ham did under Moyes. And they've actually made quite a lot of mistakes doing it. So I do wonder if we can press in the right way, we might actually be able to work a mistake out of them. I think that might be what West Ham struggle with in the first opening parts of the season. I think is just getting used to that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so. And look, they've got a new manager. They have to bed in all those players. Like in a vacuum, all those players look good. We're kind of the antithesis of this. We have a manager who's a year and a half bedding in his system and has done it to great effect. He's also going to be playing the majority of the players that have been bed into that system. Yeah. So we'll be able to do it moonwalking backwards from a systemic point of view. There are holes in the system. We do know about that. And we do talk about it specifically from a defensive point of view and our struggles to play through the middle sometimes. So how has he looked to kind of tweak that over the course of the off season? We're looking to see. Didn't really see it in the preseason. Preseason was really treated as massively. It was treated as a fitness exercise with different 11s being played all the time. We've seen no fluidity in the preseason, and that's the way Unai has wanted it. So for me, there's a selfishness that gives me even more of a tingle of excitement to see what's going to happen at the weekend. And maybe the reason for that is he didn't need to play his first 11 for that fluidity and that cohesiveness to that gelling period, because he didn't need it because he has 18 months of doing that previously. So yeah, it's really, really setting up to see what the weekend brings. And also, if I'm not mistaken, and I can never remember what time kickoffs are for games. It's the later game, isn't it, on Saturday? It's the later game.
The 5:30, I think it is. Yeah. It should be hopefully a warm day. Still the sunlight out and all that. So
yeah. Are you going with a 1-1 draw, Frankie?
A few people. I had this horrible feeling it would be like a 2-0, just a full Krug heading fest. But a couple of people have mentioned 1-1 to me, and I'm now coming around to the idea it'll be 1-1. We maybe force a mistake out of them and get a goal, but I just feel like a Ward-Prowse ball into the box from a set piece maybe are undoing in some way as well. So yeah, I'll go 1-1. That's as optimistic as I'm willing to be. But if you could think of last season, opening 3 games, lost 5-1 and 3-0 to Liverpool and Newcastle. Then we went on a tear, and I think Villa, it might just take a few games to get going this season, but once we do, I'm sure we'll be all right.
Absolutely, I think so too. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Aston Villa win, but I'm also going to say 1-1. So that way, then, if it is 1-1, I can say that I told you so in the post-match podcast. But Frankie, any last parting words? I suppose anything that we haven't spoken about that you want to get off your chest before this game at the weekend?
Well, you asked me earlier if Ollie Watkins will start, and I said, yeah, he definitely will. So that means he's not going to start now, doesn't it? But no, I think honestly, no. Really looking forward to this season starting. Very excited. I think we should all be really excited about what comes. And we've got a brilliant manager. We're in the Champions League. It's just going to be look, it's not going to be plain sailing all the time. There's going to be tough weeks, it's going to be hard weeks and all that. And it's going to be hard doing the Champions League, but what an experience. And it's all part of it's a long-term process under Unai Emery. He signed on to 2029 and, it's a long-term project. So, patience and just enjoy the ride. And honestly, thank you so much for asking me on it. This is just a brilliant podcast, and the stuff you do is amazing. Honestly, Neil, thanks so much.
It's been my own stupidity not to ask you in the past, because I've always gone, oh yeah, I must get Frankie on. Genuinely, my absent-mindedness has been the only barrier to that previously. So thanks a million for popping on. I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, you guys who are watching this, Frankie's all Villa Filler. Go follow his podcast, and the quality of guests that he gets on to discuss things is just fantastic. And not just when I'm on there, but when other people are on there too. It's just fantastic. And also, you can catch Frankie on the Claret and Blue season preview as well with Matt Kendrick, John Townley, and Rollo as well. On the Claret and Blue YouTube page as well. And that's one of the things I love about the Villa YouTube scene, is that everybody gets on, everybody helps each other out. There's room for everybody because of the great fan base that Villa have, and the fan base that's ever growing all around the world. give everybody a turn, is what I say. And somebody mentioned about your super chats not working on YouTube, Frankie. You need to get those sorted, because somebody wants to thank you monetarily for your time. And I want to say thanks as well to a couple of people who've done that. Michael Huggins, thank you very much. You reminded me. Well, today is my 5th year. Is the 5th year anniversary of the inception of this podcast. So,
wow.
5 years on the go, so thank you very much for that. And here it is. Ken says, Neil, tell Frankie to sort out his super chat. So there you go. Ken is mad to give you some kudos there as well. So
thank you very much.
Yeah. So 5th year. Thanks for joining me for my 5th year birthday. I should have really had some sort of a cake here or whatever.
Yeah, should have a little party hat or something.
I forgot all about it. I was just telling Frankie before he came on, I did a 2.5 hour manual fantasy Premier League auction / draft / thingy, which was really interesting. That's going to be coming out on another podcast soon. So on a fancy football podcast, we did it with some of the guys from the Anfield Rap and some other podcasts there. It was really interesting. It was pretty cool. So if I can find any footage of that, I'm going to show it to you guys, because it was an experience. But with that being said, I do have to wrap this one up, because I've been sitting in this very chair since about 6:15 this morning, and I am wrecked. So thank you very much, Frankie, for jumping on. I really appreciate it. And thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Again, Frankie Maguire at Frankie Maguire and All Villa No Filler podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. We will be back. There's a potential I'll be back tomorrow. I know I said I was taking a day off, but there's a potential I'll be back tomorrow with a scouting series and somebody that I don't know a whole lot about, but I found somebody who does know something about him, about a player that we've been linked to. And then on Saturday, then will be the big day, team sheet tantrums and post-match podcast. Then we'll be out straight away. So hopefully you can join us for that. But until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.